So my name is Mizo and I work for the International Labour Organization. I'm based in Indonesia where I run a project called the Sea Fisheries Project, which combats trafficking and forced labour in the fisheries industry in Southeast Asia. So the project covers all of Southeast Asian countries, but specifically Thailand, Indonesia and the Philippines, as well as other countries within the region. It's been a very interesting 5 days here in South Africa with SAMSA, and it's been a great pleasure really to be a part of this C188 workshop. One of the underlying issues in the industry around the world, but in Southeast Asia, is the work conditions in fisheries and on fishing vessels. And being with SAMSA really gives us one model of how one country approaches that and how they use inspections and labour inspections to really try to enforce and improve working standards in the industry. And this is important to us both in terms of fishers who are in this industry and in terms of the protection of migrant fishers who are working on various foreign vessels as well. And there is a migration element to that too, so that's been very useful. SAMSA has been wonderful to show us the various ways and tools that it has in doing inspections and labour inspections in fishing, in the fishing industry, and across the board, from bigger vessels, commercial, very large size commercial vessels that are out at sea for many days, to smaller vessels that are also engaged in commercial fishing. And I think it's very important for our delegates and the people we work with in Southeast Asia to see a different model and to be able to choose the bits that work for them in their own countries. The fishing industry is really diverse around the world, and the fleet that we're working with in Southeast Asia is very different to the fleet in South Africa. But there are commonalities and common challenges, and so what SAMSA has already implemented will be very useful for our counterparts in Thailand, Philippines and in Indonesia. And my interactions with the delegates who have come is that they've all been really excited about what they've learnt and really excited to see an enforcement regime, the inspection regime that's functioning, that covers such a large percentage of the fleet in South Africa as well.
Are we likely, from an ILO perspective, to see more of these collective engagements where perhaps there may be 3-5 other countries that want to have exactly the same experience?
So ILO is concerned about decent work in all sectors, and in my case in fishing specifically, and these kind of trainings or sharings is very important. It's important for different countries to see what others are doing, to see how they have overcome similar challenges but might be at a different stage in their journey in doing that. So yes, we hope that that's possible, and we want to see as much partnership and collaboration between countries as possible. And it's interesting to have sort of south to south cooperation as well, and learning, so that you don't just have the usual suspects, but that you have a broader range of engagement from different kind of countries. So yes, we hope that's possible, and whether how the traveling goes is another arrangement, but definitely that's something we'd like to be able to do more of.
These kind of engagements, is it something that you do right across the board in terms of sectors, or is it something that you do specifically with the maritime sector?
We do versions of this in different sectors, and the way ILO itself is organized is not sector specific, so we work on issues across sectors. So there's different kinds of workshops and collaborations and learnings and training. So yeah, it's not specific to maritime, but sort of mutual learning and sharing. We, within my project, for example, the Sea Fisheries Project, we have done some work in terms of sharing within Southeast Asia, because within the region there are different practices and different models that can also be considered and possibly scaled up. So, but we look beyond the region for examples and for inspiration, and that's also why South Africa has been a very useful model for us to look towards.
Speaking of inspiration, On the lighter side, one of the places you've been to is Table Mountain. And of course, if you're in Cape Town for the first time, you shouldn't miss that. How was that?
Table Mountain is spectacular, and Cape Town is a spectacular city. I think for many of the delegates who are here who haven't been to South Africa before, it was a pleasant surprise, and I think they've all been very impressed by, Cape Town, Western Cape in general, and particularly the hospitality of SAMSA. It's a wonderful experience for them, and I think it's opened their eyes to just what's possible on the other side of the world. I think there's been a lot of discussions through the week about differences between these two countries, and I think many of our delegates will go back and to think about what they can take away and what they can apply from South Africa. And I've already heard comments from delegates saying that, because they don't just work on the maritime sectors, the delegates who are here, they work across different sectors in terms of labour conditions. So some of them who do that have already said, oh, I can apply this to a different sector, this kind of model or this kind of tool. So while this is being very focused on fishing, I think what people will take away will have implications broader than maritime as well.
Well, ma'am, thank you so much for your time. Truly appreciate it.